I'm going to be revealing our 3-step process to achieving mental freedom masterclass. Who this training is for. If you're that person that others look to for solutions and you're really good at that, this is for you. And you also have something, perhaps personal, that you haven't found an answer for and there's no one you can share it with. And if you're tired of waiting for people to change so you can be happy, you're ready to take control of the situation and find a better way to this complex problem so you can get even better at impacting the lives of those who look to you, then this masterclass is for you. This training isn't for people who believe there's no answer to the challenge they struggle with. People who can't stop blaming others for their unhappiness. People who are unwilling to evaluate their own behavior. And people who are unwilling to invest in making the changes they want to make. And people who are getting what they need from being a victim. These people, they aren't going to want to know about mental freedom. So if that describes you, you might as well stop right here. My promise to you, I'll deliver as much value as possible in the next 60 minutes. I'll share real-life examples of how the method you'll be learning today can work. No theory, all proof, real-life examples. I'll demonstrate my ability to help no matter what the problem is you're facing, provided you're ready to change it. In return, I ask that you please close all the tabs on your computer or laptop to avoid distractions. Turn off notifications. Turn off your cell phones or put them on silent. You want to be able to get through this without distraction. And invest the next 30 minutes of your focused attention to see how you can make the framework of mental freedom work for you. I know you can, but let's give it its best shot. Today, you'll learn the top 3 mistakes that smart, competent, successful professional people like you make. You'll learn why you're not getting the life satisfaction you crave. You'll learn what to do instead that will get you the happiness you deserve. And I'm going to show you my 3-step OFT framework on how you can take charge of your life without pushing the important people out of it. Wait. Be sure to stay until the very end for some exciting bonuses and surprises. There's a reason I want you to watch this masterclass before you purchase the Mental Freedom Experience. So, I'm Kim. I've been a licensed counselor since 1996. I'm the author of 2 award-winning books, Secrets of Happy Couples and Choosing Me Now. I've also written Mental Freedom. It was just released last year, and it is being evaluated for some awards currently. I've been a board-certified coach and trainer since 2011. I'm a leading expert in choice theory psychology, and I'm the founder of Olver International and the Mental Freedom Process. I'm also super happy in my life, but it wasn't always like this. Man, when I think back, there was a time when I was unhappy in my marriage. I was frustrated with my children. I didn't like or respect my boss. And I had a lot of reasons for my unhappiness, but none of them were my fault, of course. It wasn't me, it was them. I looked outwardly successful to people and kept my problems secret so no one would know I was suffering and unhappy. It's not very cool when a counselor is not happy. We're supposed to be able to fix other people, so we should also be able to fix ourselves. This is why today I'm so passionate about helping people to stop putting their happiness in other people's hands and start creating their own happiness and mental freedom without the same pain, struggle, and steep learning curve I went through. There's some simple things, if you only knew, you would be able to take any pain you're experiencing and just stop experiencing it. You want to hear more? Let's start by talking about the mistakes. I'm talking about the top 3 mistakes that leave smart, competent, successful professional people in pain and why they keep you there. The first mistake: you think you can't be happy until someone or something changes. What does this mean? Well, you're allowing another person or a circumstance to hold your happiness hostage. You often think or say out loud things like, well, I can be happy if you would just blank, or I'll be happy when this changes. Mm-mm-mm. You're waiting for something to change that you can't control. Did you ever feel the frustration of wanting something to change or someone to change so much and knowing you can't do it? The other person has to do it on their own and you can't make them. Ugh, frustrating. And you believe there's nothing you can do about it. So you learn to feel helpless and almost like a victim to the other person's willful disobedience and doing things their way instead of the way that you want them to. Well, what happens if you continue making this mistake? Because you can. I mean, I'm not here to say you must stop, but here's what's going to happen if you keep doing it. Nothing will change. Maybe you've heard that expression. Nothing changes until something changes. You'll spend more and more of your energy pretending everything's just fine. You don't want people to know you're suffering. And you'll sink deeper and deeper into unhappiness as you realize the futility of trying to control something or someone that you can't. What happens when you stop making this mistake? You'll take control of your own happiness, mental freedom, and life. You focus on the things you have control over, mainly yourself. You realize happiness is possible and even likely when you accomplish mental freedom, whether or not the circumstances in your life change. We all know the only person whose behavior we can control is our own. Everybody knows that. But the follow-up question to that is, whose behavior do you try to control all day long? And if you realize that you're trying to control everyone else's behavior all day long, that's the first step to understanding the challenge is yours because you can stop doing that. So I'm excited to see what the progress will be when you make that shift. Now, here's a testimonial from Cheryl Matricule. She came to me for the mental freedom experience after working really hard at trying to control her husband and her 2 sons. This is what she said after taking the program. Of course, I know I can't change other people, but that didn't stop me from trying. With the ideas in mental freedom, I realized that no one has to change to make me happy. That's my job, and it's going well since using mental freedom in my life. My happiness depends on me. Cheryl Matricule. Mistake number 2. You believe you're responsible for other people. I know if you're a smart, competent professional, you already believe that's true. And if you're a counselor or coach, it's especially true for us. But what does this actually mean? Well, it means there's people in your life you think it's your responsibility to take care of. Now, with the exception of our minor children, we really don't have responsibility to take care of anyone except for ourselves. You overstep in providing advice and assistance. This is what happens when you're trying to tell other people what's in their best interest, or if they would just do this, it would be for their own good. Well, You don't get to decide what's in someone else's best interest or what's in their own good. That's not your job. You're frustrated that these people don't take your advice and continue doing things the hard or the wrong way. We could go back to Cheryl Matricku because she asked me a question in Mental Freedom one time, and she said, I don't know why my son always has to do things the hard way. And my answer was very easy. And it was, perhaps it's not the hard way for him. Of course, if she was doing it from her perspective, it would be the hard way to do it. But he's a different person than she is. And this is the way that he's chosen to do it. Now, of course, if he asked for her advice, she has every right to give it. But she was giving it without being asked. What happens if you keep making this mistake? Well, the first thing that happens is your relationship suffers. Nobody likes to be told what to do. When you tell people what's in their best interest, you're actually telling them that you don't trust them and that they don't know what's best for themselves. That feels like criticism and judgment. You start experiencing things like exhaustion, depression, anxiety, headaches, unexplained medical problems. This is what happens when we want something and we're not able to achieve it. All of these symptoms start happening because we're in a situation that requires us to do something different. Problem is, we don't know what to do differently. You don't have time to do what you want because you're always worrying about and taking care of others. When your life is devoted to service to others who don't need your service and maybe even don't want your service, then you are going to lose a lot of time being able to do the things that are more important to you. You might even attempt some self-destructive things to try to feel better. Now, usually when we think about self-destructive things, we might think about putting, might think about starving ourselves or binging and purging and eating disorders. But there's even some other things. We can sabotage our significant relationship by having an affair. We can sabotage our financial stability by going on a retail therapy shopping trip where we spend money that we don't have. There's all kinds of ways to do self-destructive things to try to help us feel better. What happens if you were to stop making this mistake? Well, quite simply, you get your life back. You don't have to worry about everybody else anymore. Now you can ask yourself the question, what is it that I want to do right now? It doesn't have to be, what do I have to do? What am I committed to do? What must I do? And you can begin to take responsibility for your life while trusting others to take responsibility for theirs, even when you don't agree with their choices. So this is amazing because the first session of Mental Freedom is all about what is your responsibility and what is not your responsibility. And your life, your happiness, meeting your needs, that's all your responsibility. And when you're consumed with helping everyone else or being responsible for other people, you don't have any time to look at the things that you're responsible for, and they go neglected. You feel freer and your relationship with others start to improve. It's amazing what happens when you stop trying to fix other people. They start to move closer to you because they don't feel that judgment and criticism. Now, this is a woman named Nazreen Ali, and she sent me this testimonial after taking Mental Freedom. She said, before taking Mental Freedom, I thought it was my job to be sure my children made the right decisions. Notice she put right in quotation marks. But now I know it's my job to support their decisions. And that changed everything for her. Her children who were trying to avoid her came around a lot more often when she started to do this. The third mistake is you think you should be able to solve this problem yourself. Of course you do. I mean, you figure everything else out, So why not this? If you solve everybody else's problems, why can't you fix this one simple thing? Counseling hasn't helped. Maybe you've been to counseling. I've talked to many people who've come for mental freedom sessions, and they tell me that counseling feels good because they have someone that they trust, that they confide in, and they can go in every week or every other week and unburden themselves with all the things that are bothering them. They may be able to cry and get all of that out. And then a week or two later, they need to do it all over again. So that's why they say counseling really hasn't helped. Yeah, it helps them feel better because they have a confidant to share things with. But it doesn't change the fact that they need to keep going back to that person to be able to continue to purge themselves of the problems that they're experiencing. You don't want anyone to know you're struggling. I know this one very well because when you're the one that people look to for answers, if they see that you don't have the answers in your own life, they may not be able to trust that you actually have the answers that they need. So that's kind of the imposter syndrome at work. So you don't want to let people know that you don't know what to do for yourself. No one really understands what you're dealing with anyway. If you're struggling with something, you probably think you're the only one. You probably think no one could ever help this situation because it's so unique to you. Well, I'm here to tell you, it's probably not. I've talked with two clients who came to me thinking that their stories were completely unique because they had been raised in cults. They'd been abused as children multiple ways, and they thought that no one would ever understand. There were two of them in a very small group that had similar experiences. It was something to see these two people actually find one another. You're not alone. You isolate yourself. That's the truth. You isolate yourself because you don't want people to know that you're suffering, which makes you feel alone. It exacerbates that feeling of no one would understand. Now, what happens if you continue to make this mistake? Well, you spend a lot of time and money on counseling that can make you feel more like a victim. That's not what you need. You can sink deeper into feelings of hopelessness, like this is just your life and it's never going to get any better. That's not true. You hold this inside because you don't have anyone safe to talk to about it. If you stop making this mistake, this is what you can look forward to. You'll realize that you're not alone. You learn exactly what to do to help yourself. You fix your life to create the freedom you so desperately want and need. Now, here's another testimonial from Elizabeth Davidson. She says she unqualifiedly, I don't even know if that's really a word, but that was her word, would recommend mental freedom for anyone. Before meeting Kim, I had done years of talk therapy and counseling and had read numerous self-help and other types of books and almost gave up. I'm so glad I didn't. Mental freedom provided just what I needed to get unstuck in my relationships. I'm forever grateful that she gives me that credit, but the truth is, all I did was give her information that she then used and applied in her relationship. So it was not anything magic about me, but it was about Elizabeth taking information that I provided and she put into practice. And that's what changed everything. Now, at this point, you might be wondering, you know what you need to stop doing, but what should you do instead? Well, I want to introduce you to the OFT process. It's the three-step method to creating mental freedom without expensive therapy, spending years on the solution, or wasting time on something that doesn't work. I'm about to share the same framework that myself and my clients that you just saw have used to find a better way to solve that problem whose solution has been eluding us. Sound familiar? Okay, here we go. Now, the OFT framework starts with open your heart, free your mind, and transform your life. That's the OFT framework. And I have 6 principles, and there's 2 under each of the framework pieces. So the first step is open your heart by building responsible, trusting relationships the right way. What does this mean? Well, we don't take responsibility for the things we do, and we often accept responsibility for things that we don't. We take responsibility for things other people do. And when we do something and it doesn't turn out the way we want, we really distance ourselves from that and don't take responsibility. We trust people to be who we want them to be instead of who they are. We need to listen to Maya Angelou's quote where she says, believe people when they show you who they are the first time. So often we look to people to show us those glimpses of behavior that matches what we really want them to be. And we hold on to that glimmer of hope that they are able to become that person. And it's just bad for ourselves and it's bad for them to hold on to these unrealistic expectations. And we try to mold people into who we want instead of encouraging and supporting them to be who they are. Now, why is this important? Well, without it, we already talked about how you're communicating criticism and judgment to those people. I don't think that's your intention, but it's like you're telling people you're not good enough the way you are. In order to be good enough for me, you have to change these things. You might even start blaming yourself for the situation. Like, why can't you get this person to do things your way? And you want the important people in your life to know you support and respect them exactly the way they are. That's so important, just like you want to be supported and respected for the way that you are. What happens when you start doing this instead? Well, you accept people for who they are. That's the first thing. That's so important. You learn to take responsibility for the right things. And you stop taking responsibility for the things that aren't yours to be responsible for. This is the beginning of the mental freedom process. So what happens if you don't do it? Because most people won't do this. It requires work, first of all. And it's not easy, right? Work is not easy. But it's a lot easier than what you've been doing because remember, one of the things you've been doing is trying to change things that you don't have the power to change. That's not only hard, it's impossible. So when you focus on what you can change, yes, it's work, but it isn't as hard and it's definitely not impossible as what you've been doing. It also takes time. And in our culture, we want things fast. We want them now. That's why psychopharmacology is doing so well, because they have a pill for almost everything. They medicate our emotions so that we feel bland and just kind of sleepwalk through life. But it doesn't fix the underlying problem of what's creating those emotions in the first place. That takes time and an investment. Some people believe that they can't be a good fill in the blank, a good parent, a good teacher, a good boss, unless they can get others to do what they think is best for them. I had one mother who said to me, she had an alcoholic daughter who lived in her home and she gave her money all the time. And she was pretty sure she took this money and used it to buy alcohol. And she said, I don't know what else to do. If I kick her out, she'll be on the street. If I don't give her money, she'll probably live on the street. And she believed that she couldn't be a good mother unless she kept giving her alcoholic daughter money, which was enabling her addiction. So that was an interesting story. And I may tell you the rest of that story as we move forward. We'll see. So this is a testimonial from my business manager, Denise. Some of you may know her, but she insists she's an amazing woman. And when I created the mental freedom process, she wanted to go through it. She knows I teach choice theory, so she wanted to go through choice theory. She once worked for a baseball coach, and she bought a book on baseball, and she studied baseball so she could learn what the people around her were teaching. So she went through it. And this is what she had to say. Learning the mental freedom process has changed my life. It's helped me be more aware of my part in my own unhappiness and unrealistic expectations I have for others, especially my family. This knowledge has allowed me to take more responsibility for my behavior and thoughts, which has made all the difference. Let's go on to step 2, which is open your mind by changing your narrative. What does this mean? Well, the way you talk about yourself and your life can unknowingly put you in a victim mode. Nobody wants to be in a victim mode. That feels horrible. So if you don't know you're doing it, how are you going to stop? You often have a painful story in your head about your life, events, and the people you encounter that doesn't serve you. Because you're the author, you can edit or delete it at will. Why is this important? Your narrative is often responsible for the unhappiness you experience, and it's often not even true. It's your mind that's doing this to you. So you have the power to change it because who controls your mind? You do. The challenge is knowing that our brains, for survival purposes, are hardwired for negativity. We have a negativity bias. So when we don't have all the information we need, we make up a story to get some closure. And because of our negativity bias, that story is often, I hesitate to say always, but I can almost say always, negative. And it hurts us. It causes us problems. When you reverse this process or develop an alternative process, your problems don't look like problems anymore. Now, what happens when you start to do this, changing your mind by changing your narrative? Well, the world looks different. It doesn't look like a scary, unsupportive place anymore. You experience more gratitude than problems. Can you imagine spending your time thinking about all the things you're grateful for instead of the things that are causing you pain? And a lot of the problems you think you have disappear because they weren't problems in the first place. They were just things that you were telling yourself because your brain has a negativity bias. That's not your fault. If you didn't have it, you wouldn't be able to protect yourself. But we don't need it all the time. We only need that when we're in life and death situations. Why most people won't invest in doing this? Well, it's comfortable to stay with what you know. It feels wrong sometimes to change the narrative to something more positive. It requires time and patience, just like before. You need to invest some time and you need to be patient with yourself because it's not a switch that you get to flip and all of a sudden everything changes. It's a habit that you develop. It's something that you have to practice and keep working on. And it's also much easier to blame other people for your unhappiness instead of taking responsibility for yourself. So other people who want to stay stuck in they can't be happy until other people change, they are not going to want to do this. And some people don't even believe it's possible. Some people have been struggling with the same thing for so long without any help that they think nobody can fix this. There's nothing that will make this situation better. They're just stuck. And if you really believe that, you're going to stay stuck. That's someone I would say is not right for the mental freedom experience because you're not even open to the possibility that there might be an answer in there for you. On the next slide, you're going to hear a testimonial in video from Tony Kitchens.
Hello, my name is Tony Kitchens. My learning in the Mental Freedom Group has been applying the information and group accountability in a way in which there has not been any fault finding that's been disguised as constructive criticism. In other words, I knew that within this group that I was free to practice rewriting my inner narrative that included fear, self-doubt, and anxiety. I can now continue genuine experience mental and emotional freedom in a way in which I own the experience. That I'm now free to choose my responses and choose what I respond to. I no longer think that I need to shrink so that others will feel comfortable around me. I am free to be all that God has created me to be and to develop my knowledge and talents unapologetically.
Thank you, Tony. Okay. The third step is transforming your life by neutralizing your pain. So what does this mean, neutralizing pain? Well, psychology has us believing that our painful emotions like sadness, depression, anxiety, anger just happen to us because of outside events. But that's not true. Physicians are ineffective when they can't find medical causes for the physical pain we sometimes experience because we're not living our lives in a mentally free way. Pain serves two purposes. One is helpful, and the other isn't. The helpful one is to alert us that something's wrong that we need to pay attention to. But holding on to those emotions creates a whole nother problem where we start to use our pain as the best way we have to get something important to us. We can transform our pain into something neutral or even pleasurable with the techniques you'll learn in Mental Freedom, freeing you to re-engage positively with your life. This is when people really start to feel those chains break and their ability to get out of the prison that they've put themselves in. Why is this important? Well, our brains are hardwired for negativity. I already told you that. And painful emotions hurt us, not only psychologically, but physically too. So if you experience painful emotions over a prolonged period of time, we all know what stress does to our body and to our health. And this is what happens. Learning to transform your emotions from negative to neutral or even positive is a skill that will serve you through all of life's challenging moments. This is if I had to pick one thing that the program helps people do that increases resilience, this is it. What happens when you start doing this? Well, you'll stop jumping to negative, hurtful conclusions. That's the first thing. You can harness your emotions to work for you instead of against you. How cool is that? And you'll be able to find the other side of all the pain you experience, thus finding the balance in your experiences. So everything that happens that's painful, there's an equal side of beneficial things, of positive things, only we never even know to search for it because we're hardwired for negativity, so we stay focused on the stuff that's painful. Why most people won't take the time to transform their life by neutralizing their pain? Well, most people believe they're right and the other person is wrong. So why invest in making any changes to themselves? They don't want to do the work. They think it's too expensive. And they think they don't have the time. None of these things are actually true. What it really means is that they want to stay stuck. And they don't want to admit that they've held the key to their freedom the whole time. If you don't know you have the key in your hand, you don't know to open the door. So the mental freedom experience helps you understand that that key is firmly in your grasp and that you can unlock this prison at any time you want. Most people don't want to admit that they've held the key this long and didn't know. But honestly, you can't know what you don't know. Here's another testimonial from a woman in Australia. Her name is Rose. And she said, "For most of my adult life, I've struggled with establishing my own boundaries. While I've been aware of this, I don't feel like I've had the tools to change. Mental freedom has helped me develop the tools I need. I can create and work towards my own vision with more certainty." You might be noticing that these testimonials all talk about different issues. And that's one of the things that I love the most about mental freedom. Mental freedom isn't information for one specific problem. Mental freedom is information for life. It can help you with whatever's happened to you up to this point and whatever will happen to you in the future. So let's do a little recap of what we've learned so far. Top 3 mistakes competent, successful professionals make. What to do instead with the OFT framework, and why you don't need others to change to be successful. Pretty powerful so far. And you are here today because, this is my guess, you want to find a better way to navigate your life without giving up what's important to you. You want a simple solution to the complex problem you can't stop thinking about and can't seem to solve on your own. You felt stuck and frustrated before, and you're ready to make a change so you can make the impact you want in your life. Today is the day. Nothing I've shared with you today is theories or just ideas. These are all the things my clients and I have done to achieve mental freedom from the things we can't change in our lives. We've also done preliminary research, and the research has come out statistically significant that mental freedom helps people with the challenges they're facing. I don't have any special skills or advantages. I just have a system that works. If my clients and I can do this, you can too. You might think, oh, well, I'm trained in counseling. Yes, I am, but my clients aren't. So I was able to do this first. I was able to put it into a nice, neat little system, the OFT system, and I can share it and teach it to you, or you could find your own practitioner if you'd rather work with someone else. We have a directory on our website, but you can do this too. That's why you actually have 2 options. Here they are. You can keep doing what you've been doing. I'm not here to try to tell you you have to do anything different. That would be antithetical to what mental freedom is all about. Or you can fast track your results with the OFT framework. Open your heart, free your mind, transform your life. What is mental freedom? It's a group coaching program for busy, smart, successful professionals with something keeping happiness just out of their reach to create peace of mind and a process for maintaining it in just 6 sessions. Now, if the group coaching program freaks you out and you'd rather not do this in a group, we do have individual options. If you make that appointment with me that I'm going to talk about later, we can talk about other options. We have a video program also. So when you call in for your mental freedom strategy session, we can talk about those things. Remember to ask me. What you'll get in the mental freedom experience. You get 6 group coaching sessions. You get lifetime membership in a private membership-only Facebook group. You'll get a mental freedom workbook. You get a 6-month group follow-up session. So it's like a little reunion for your group. You get to come together and we do a checkup to make sure that these principles are still being used. And you get a 1-year follow-up personalized mental freedom audit with me. So I'll check in at 1 year to see how you're doing. I want to hear about all the ways you've used mental freedom. And if you have any situations that have come up that you haven't figured out yet, we can talk about them in your audit. Here's a testimonial from Catherine Randolph. She says, "This was a great experience and I learned so much. I would so recommend anyone take mental freedom no matter what your goal, as there is something for everyone to take away." Thank you, Kathy. I really believe that myself. What you'll achieve in mental freedom. You'll reduce your stress and feel light and free. You'll be filled with gratitude. You'll develop even stronger resilience, so you'll be able to do it yourself whenever you need. You'll be able to build the life that you really want. And Conrie Davidson says, "I highly recommend mental freedom coaching in groups, couples, or as individuals. It was very helpful and allowed me to reframe things that have happened in my life and are occurring now to feel better about them. It is life-changing." Now, each session in mental freedom, I want to go over some of the specific things that you'll get from each session. So the first one is called responsibility versus responsibility. And what you learn is how to assess and balance your needs. You learn how to discriminate between your responsibility and someone else's, when and how to be responsible. The second session is called the Unconditional Trust Challenge. And there you're going to learn that you've been trusting people for the wrong thing and making it frustrating for both of you. You'll learn to always trust yourself and to trust everyone for the right thing, the one thing you can count on everyone to do, and never be disappointed again. That's worth the price of the program right there. In session 3, you're going to learn to shift disempowering versus victimizing language. What you learn is how you talk to yourself is a huge factor in how you feel. Have you ever noticed you'll say some of the worst things to yourself that you would never say to another person? I used to call myself stupid and say, what's wrong with you all the time? Terrible things I would say to myself. You also learn that there's a lot less have-tos than you think. And we're going to help you shift your have-tos to want-tos in this part of the program. And your perceptions are responsible for a great deal of your suffering. It's how we think about things. It's not the thing themselves. So you learn how to change that. In session 4, we talk about rewriting the stories in your head. And what you'll learn in this section is the real reason you make up hurtful stories. What your personal stories are, because you may not even be aware. They may be so subconscious that you don't even know what they are. And you'll learn how to counteract them. We can rewrite our story at any time once we understand what our story is, and we can tell it differently so it doesn't cause so much pain. Now, session 5, signal versus solution. In this session, you're going to learn the two purposes of emotions. We've talked about that just a little bit earlier. You're going to learn how you might be using emotions to get what you want, which doesn't always make us feel good when we recognize what we're subconsciously doing with our emotions. And you'll learn what to do instead, so you can look yourself in the mirror again and be proud of yourself instead of embarrassed. And the last session I call Appreciating the Glow. And this is about learning the perfect balance of pleasure and pain. We don't get to choose the pain, but we do get to choose the pleasure. And all painful events have GLOW, and this GLOW is an acronym for gifts, lessons, opportunities, and wisdom. You'll also learn how to find them, which is probably the most important piece. Now, I know you've been listening to all of this and now you want to know what the investment is. And I'm going to give you, like all other marketers, the big build up to what it is valued at, what you would pay if you were able to pay for each of these things independently. And then I'm going to tell you the real price. And then if you stay till the end, I'm going to give you a special offer. So here's the investment. The value of the group coaching, lifetime Facebook support, your mental freedom workbook, your 6-month follow-up session, and your personalized mental freedom audit sold separately would be $10,387. We're not going to charge you that. That's not what we're going to charge. The regular investment for this type of program is $2,997. That's what this program costs. However, we're giving you an early bird bonus. It's actually the masterclass bonus. For listening to our masterclass, you get a $1,200 savings if you book your mental freedom strategy session after the completion of this masterclass. Now, we're going to give you 48 hours to book it, but you can book it anytime up to the beginning of the masterclass. So you don't have to talk to me within 48 hours. You just have to book the appointment within 48 hours. For the next 2 days, if you book your 30-minute mental freedom strategy session at the end of this masterclass, you will lock in your investment at $1,797 for early bird pricing. If you think that this is a lot of money, I want you to just add up what counseling costs you, because the average counseling session in the United States is somewhere around $150. If you have insurance that covers that, you may be only paying a certain copay. But I want you to think about how much counseling you've had or how much counseling you think you will have as you navigate your life, and think that for just $1,797, you can learn everything you need to know to be able to do it yourself, handle any problems that come your way without having to have additional counseling or coaching. Of course, you can if you want to, but you won't need that. Now, we also have several monthly payment plans, so you can make low monthly payments. We'll have a 3-month, a 6-month, and a 12-month payment plan. And if you need something beyond 12 months, all you have to do is send me an email and we can talk about the possibilities. You can schedule the call anytime before the start of the mental freedom experience, but you must book it within the next 48 hours. What is the strategy session for? Well, here we go. It's a risk-free call for us to discuss if and how the OFT framework could apply to you. It's also for people who are serious about results and don't want to waste any more time. And it's to identify the current gaps in your mental freedom and develop a plan to fix it. We'll also dive deeper into how I could help you achieve mental freedom without diagnoses, years of therapy, or more pain waiting for things to change. What we'll talk about. Now, you'll notice on the right-hand side of these slides, you can write down that link because that's the link to book the call. We'll put the link with the masterclass. After you've viewed it, the link will be printed there, so you'll be able to just click, but you might want to write it down now. What we'll talk about, where you're at now in your life, where you want to be in your life going forward, what's stopping you from achieving the mental freedom you crave, and I'll provide you with an honest assessment of whether the OFT framework could apply to you and if you'd be a good fit for the program. Now, that's really important to me. I want to make sure that everyone in the Mental Freedom Group experience is going to be a good candidate for that process. I didn't say this, but one thing I want to solemnly swear to you, I will never use this mental freedom strategy session as a time to strong-arm you to try to get you to buy this program. I don't want someone in the program that isn't excited about it, that doesn't think this is going to be the answer, that this is the difference that might be made in your life. So I will never use hard sales techniques with you. That is my solemn vow. Even if you aren't a good fit for the program, I may decide that. On this call, at minimum, you'll walk away with a solid action plan. And we have other alternatives. Not everyone is a good fit for the program, right? We only accept about 1 out of 5 applicants for group coaching. Now, we also have a video coaching program and an individual coaching program. So I might recommend one of those for you, or I might say that it doesn't seem like you're ready for the mental freedom experience yet, which means that one of those things that we went over in the beginning of this masterclass, some of the things that would disqualify you, that they're probably present in your life right now. Doesn't mean you'll never be ready. It just means that right now you're not ready for our group experience. There's a good chance you won't get in. Not because we're mean, but because we're very protective of our clients. If you do get into this group experience, you're going to have a group of people who are supportive and encouraging and committed not only to their own growth, but to yours as well. We want our clients to be around other successful clients. Not everyone is a good fit for the program. If you aren't ready, it'll bring the community down. We want people who dive into the content and actively use our help anytime they need it. We want our clients to be people who are prioritizing their mental freedom over almost anything else in their life during the program. Our clients have committed a substantial investment to breaking chains and achieving mental freedom, and we don't have time to handhold people who aren't serious about doing the same. There are lots of programs available for wasting time, commiserating, and blaming others, but this isn't one of them. Mental freedom is not about the status quo. It's about getting results. You will be changed by this program in a positive way. In fact, you'll probably be uncomfortable during the program, not because it's hard, but because it's not hard. It's easier. Remember, it's easier than what you've been doing up until this point. The method will sound so unbelievably simple, you'll try to overcomplicate it. Spoiler alert, mental freedom does not have to be complicated. If you have loads of time and are swimming in money, you should definitely not enroll. You should go to psychoanalysis and figure it out with your analyst over several years' time. Our clients enroll in mental freedom because they want to free themselves from the prison they've built in just 6 sessions without spending their life savings. Book your call today. You have nothing to lose and your mental freedom to gain. Stop worrying about the how and let us give you the system so you can just get to work. It's a free, risk-free call to help you identify your blind spots, so book it now. I promise, no hard sales. If I even try, hang up on me. You don't have to be polite, just hang up, because that's how sure I am. I'm not going to do that. For the next 48 hours only, if you book your mental freedom assessment call, you'll lock in the investment at $1,797 early bird pricing, or select any of our payment plans for low monthly payments. You can schedule the call anytime before the start of the mental freedom experience, but you must book it within the next 48 hours. And here's an early bird bonus. A 30-minute mental freedom strategy session with a mental freedom coach anytime up to 1 year after the purchase of the mental freedom course. So you get another mental freedom strategy sessions with one of our other coaches to help you assess where you are with your mental freedom after the class. If you have any questions, you can email me at kim@olverinternational.com. But I hope you'll be booking your appointment so we get to talk soon. And I hope you make it before our next mental freedom experience begins. Thank you so much for sticking in with this masterclass, and I look forward to talking with you soon.